Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring the Weird Frontiers role-playing game. If you haven't seen my review of this Weird West Dungeon Crawl Classics style of RPG, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about the rules, specifically ability checks, skills, and I'm going to give you an overview of combat. Let's start with ability checks. There may come a time when a skill isn't what's needed to get the job done. Maybe you need to hold on to that rope a little longer so that your partner can climb to safety. Or it could be that you're trying your best to hold your breath and not take in that lung full of black smoke filling the burning barn you're trapped in. When a physical or mental attribute makes more sense to determine the outcome of a given situation, you use the one you think the character would need the most to accomplish that task, and use the difficulty class examples that are included in this book to set the difficulty. You make an ability check by rolling a d20, modified by any positive or negative modifiers attached to the ability being used. When it comes to difficulty levels, not every task should be one you have to roll to succeed at. You need to use common sense with everyday skills and assume a character knows the proper way to brush their teeth and scramble up a few eggs to quell that gnawing at the belly. When the task at hand is determined important enough to roll for its success, the judge will assign a difficulty challenge or difficulty class number to the attempt that gives the player a number to match or beat. This difficulty challenge that the judge assigns to the attempt should reflect the difficulty of the skill check, in addition to modifiers that might make the check more difficult. Now, when it comes to skills, as stated in the occupations section of character generation, skills are trained, that is, they relate to your occupation, or untrained. Trained skills use a d20 plus ability modifier versus a difficulty challenge set by the judge. Untrained skills use 1d10 plus ability modifier versus a difficulty challenge set by the judge. Matching or beating the difficulty challenge of the skill check results in success. Let's talk about contested roles. Situations can arise where characters will have to match their skills and abilities against those who are working against them. In such a case, each side rolls using one of the methods described in this rulebook, the skill or the ability check. The side with the highest total, and that still beats the difficulty challenge, wins the contest. In some cases, opposed ability checks may not have a set difficulty challenge. When it comes to assisting skill or ability checks, if you find yourself facing overwhelming odds while trying to accomplish a task, a helping hand is often just what you need to get over the hump. Typically, up to 4 allies may assist a character attempting a skill or ability check. In the case of a skill test, allies must be trained at the skill to assist. Each helper grants a bonus to the roll made by the character receiving help. When it comes to learning new skills, there may come a time when a character wants to learn a new skill not normally in their repertoire. Skills are generally limited to each character's 0-level occupation and chosen class. But what if Sam the Barber wishes to take up dentistry? Characters wishing to learn a new skill should be given the opportunity. To learn a new skill, the player should first announce their intent to the judge, who then will determine what would be required to begin learning. Characters should only be allowed to learn up to 2 new skills at each level, starting at first level to keep from bogging down gameplay. Judges may also wish to handle practice and studying between sessions, so it better suits the style of the campaign of the group. Now let's talk a bit about combat. Before the first round begins, you should determine if either side involved is surprised or facing something that warrants a grit check. We will talk about that later on in a future part. Each character that is unsurprised and suffers no loss of action due to a failed grit check then rolls for initiative to determine the order of action during a round of combat. Players with multiple characters, that is in the funnel style, should only roll once, counting the highest initiative modifier. Once initiative is determined, characters and enemies act in order of initiative, from highest to lowest. Make attacks by rolling a d20 and adding any relevant modifiers. Compare the total to the target's armor class. Matching or beating the defender's armor class results in success. Successful attacks often result in the target suffering damage, as determined by the type of weapon, spell, ability, etc. that is being used. When it comes to keeping time, Combat is broken down into rounds, with each round consisting of 10 seconds. During combat, one turn is 10 rounds. However, activities taking place outside of combat are also measured in turns, each of which is approximately 10 minutes. Round time in combat up to the nearest non-combat turn. Concerning movement, most characters move at a rate of 30 feet per round. Judges may wish to reduce a character's movement if heavily encumbered by as much as half the normal rate, depending on how much they are carrying. When it comes to marching order, when bullets start to fly, it's important to know which lucky person catches some lead first. Encounters with narrow lanes of travel might limit movement enough to where characters must form a marching order. Each player should state where their character is amongst his or her allies. Handing players a piece of paper to make a rough diagram showing character placement can be helpful during the game. In funnel-style games, have each player stack their character sheets with the topmost character being in the front during gameplay. But of course you can also handle this using miniatures as well. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to talk about more specific things related to combat, such as surprise, fear, initiative, critical hits, fumbles, and many other things. As you can see, the rules are quite similar, if not identical in some areas, to the Dungeon Crawl Classics core game. But as we get into this rule system, you will see that there are things that are quite different as well. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.